I thought my marriage to Soren was perfect. We were college sweethearts, the kind of couple everyone looked at and said, goals. We had a beautiful home, 2 amazing kids, and a life built on what I believed was trust and mutual respect. For 15 years, that was my reality, or so I thought. The cracks started small, almost unnoticeable. Late nights at the office became more frequent, business trips that popped up at the last minute. He'd come home smelling faintly of a perfume that wasn't mine, and when I'd ask, he'd just laugh it off, saying it must be from a colleague at a meeting. He'd become overly protective of his phone, always keeping it face down, a habit he'd never had before. I tried to ignore the gnawing feeling in my gut. I told myself I was being paranoid that Soren loved me. He was just stressed from work. That's what I kept telling myself, a mantra to quiet the screaming doubts in my head. The first real clue was a receipt. It fell out of his coat pocket one evening as I was hanging it up. It was from a fancy jewelry store in a neighboring town, a place we never shopped. The purchase was for a delicate gold necklace, dated 2 weeks prior. My birthday had just passed, and he'd given me a new coffee machine. Valentine's Day was months away. My heart hammered against my ribs. Who was this necklace for? I confronted him that night, my voice trembling as I held up the little piece of paper. He didn't even flinch. He just smiled that easy, charming smile of his and said it was an early anniversary gift he'd been hiding. He claimed he'd been planning a surprise. He was so convincing, so smooth, that for a moment, I almost believed him. He made me feel silly for ever doubting him. That was his talent, making me feel like the crazy one. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and it started to grow, twisting its roots around my heart. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. So I started paying closer attention. I noticed the way his eyes would dart to his phone every time it buzzed. I saw the quick, secretive smiles he'd try to hide. He started working out more, buying new clothes, paying more attention to his appearance than he had in years. He said it was for his health, for us, so he could be a better husband and father, but it felt different. It felt like he was grooming himself for someone else. One Saturday, he said he was going on an all-day fishing trip with his buddies. I called his best friend, Mark, a few hours later, just to casually ask how the fishing was going. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Mark sounded confused. Fishing trip? Lyra, Soren's not with me. I haven't seen him all week. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. The lie was so blatant, so careless. Where was he? My mind raced through all the terrible possibilities, each one more painful than the last. That was the turning point. I realized that if I wanted the truth, I had to find it myself. Waiting for him to confess was a fool's game. He was too good at lying. I felt a strange sense of calm wash over me. The hurt was still there, a deep, aching wound, but it was now mixed with a cold, hard resolve. I needed proof. I needed undeniable, irrefutable evidence that I wasn't just losing my mind. I started looking through our shared accounts. It was tedious, but I was determined. I scrolled through months of credit card statements, looking for anything out of place. And then I found it. A recurring charge for a hotel, the same one, every other Tuesday afternoon. It was a cheap motel on the outskirts of town, the kind of place people go when they don't want to be found. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just a one-time mistake. This was a routine. A secret life he was living right under my nose. I also remembered our shared family cloud account, something we set up years ago to back up our photos. I rarely used it, but I knew his phone was set to automatically upload pictures. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type in the password. I held my breath and clicked on the most recent photo album. And there it was. My world shattered into a million tiny pieces. It was a picture of Soren, beaming, with his arm wrapped around a younger woman. They were sitting at an outdoor cafe, looking at each other with an intimacy that was reserved for us. And around her neck was the delicate gold necklace from the receipt. There were other photos too. Selfies of them laughing, pictures from a weekend trip to the beach I knew nothing about. He looked happier than I'd seen him in years. The betrayal was like a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. It wasn't just an affair. He was in love with her. He was living a whole separate life. For 2 days, I didn't say a word. I went through the motions of our life, making breakfast, packing the kids' lunches, asking him about his day, all while this catastrophic secret burned inside me. He had no idea that I knew. He continued to play the part of the devoted husband, kissing me goodbye in the morning, telling me he loved me at night. The hypocrisy was nauseating. I used those 2 days to plan. I contacted a lawyer. I opened a new bank account. I gathered all the evidence, the receipts, the hotel bills, the photos. I was methodical, detaching myself emotionally as much as possible. This was no longer about saving my marriage. It was about protecting myself and my children. It was about taking back control of my life from the man who had so casually and cruelly betrayed it. The confrontation was quiet. It wasn't the screaming match I had imagined. I waited until the kids were asleep. I sat him down at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd shared thousands of meals and made countless family memories. I laid a single printed photo on the table between us. It was the one of him and her at the cafe, his arm around her, the necklace gleaming against her skin. He looked at the photo, then up at me. The color drained from his face. For the first time in months, his charming smile was gone. There was no smooth explanation, no easy lie. There was just silence. I watched as the reality of the situation finally hit him. He had been caught. The game was over. "I know everything, Soren," I said, my voice steady and clear. "I know about the hotel on Tuesdays. I know about the beach trip. I know her name." He opened his mouth to speak, but I held up a hand. Don't you dare try to lie to me again. Don't insult my intelligence." He started to stammer, to make excuses. He said it didn't mean anything, that he was confused, that he still loved me. But the words were hollow. The trust had been incinerated. I told him I had already spoken to a lawyer and that I was filing for divorce. He was stunned. I think a part of him believed he could talk his way out of it, that I would forgive him like I always did. But the woman he was looking at was not the same woman he had been lying to for months. That woman was gone. In her place was someone who was hurt, yes, but also someone who was strong and ready to fight for her future. The aftermath was difficult, I won't lie. Divorce is never easy, especially with children involved. But finding out the truth, as painful as it was also liberating. It freed me from the anxiety and self-doubt that had been plaguing me for so long. I was no longer the paranoid wife. I was a woman who had trusted her intuition and uncovered the truth. I learned to rely on my own strength. I focused on my kids, on rebuilding our lives, on creating a new home that was filled with honesty and peace, not secrets and lies. It was a long road, but with every step I felt myself getting stronger. I reconnected with friends, picked up old hobbies, and rediscovered the person I was before my identity became so wrapped up in being Soren's wife. Looking back, the betrayal was the worst pain I've ever felt, but it was also a wake-up call. It forced me to see that I deserved more. I deserved honesty, respect, and a partner who cherished me, not one who deceived me. I learned that my worth isn't determined by someone else's inability to see it. If you're going through something similar, please know that you are not crazy for feeling that something is wrong. Trust your gut. And remember, you are so much stronger than you think. The end of one chapter is just the beginning of another, and you have the power to write a much, much better story for yourself. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've been through a similar experience, please share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about overcoming life's challenges. You're not alone.